Welcome back to the Get Back. This is going to be the WWE Saturday Night slash Evolution post reaction analysis breakdown of both of the cards. Be two separate videos, but the intro will be kind of split together. But we're going to just kick it off with the Saturday Night main event. Let's get right into it. We're going to go in match order. We're going to break down every match and what I see happening in the future and how I thought the match overall went. So we'll start with Saturday Night main event, starting with Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. Randy having Jelly Roll in his corner and Drew having Logan Paul in his corner. So Randy picks up the win. I predicted Drew to win. Obviously, I didn't realize they were going to have Jelly Roll and Logan Paul come out. That changes everything about this matchup and everything about these four going forward. Obviously, Jelly Roll is rumored to be or is training to fight in a ring with Randy, so it makes sense why Randy won. You could have made the argument for Drew winning, but you see where they're going with it, and you see obviously we are getting Logan Paul Drew McIntyre versus Jelly Roll and Randy Orton and the SummerSlam celebrity match, whatever you want to call it. Do I wish that Randy and Drew were doing better things? Yeah. Am I expecting Jelly Roll to be great? I mean, he's fun, he's fine, and he hit one choke slam last year, and that's all we know about him in the ring. But we'll see what he can do. And I think if he's training with somebody like Randy and he's putting in the time, he's willing to put in the work, I think he could do a good job. I'm not gonna totally dismiss the idea, but yeah. Overall match though, these guys are solid. These guys are fun. Uh, Drew and Randy are really good together. Jelly Roll did really good on the outside. Logan Paul did really great on the outside. Um, yeah, Randy and Drew are just two of the greats to do it. I don't have any complaints from the match itself. They professional and they worked. And it was kind of like it was just motion. They did what they usually do. They didn't go over the top. They didn't do anything too crazy. Nothing too new. So good to see Drew back though. Love Drew in the ring. Um, and Randy's Randy. Randy's gonna be great. So overall, pretty good match. Solid B minus B. Maybe B minus is more fair because it was a pretty generic match for the two of them. But obviously, this match is set up for SummerSlam, and the tag match is gonna happen there. And yeah, I just wish that maybe Randy and Drew were doing different things than being involved in this feud. I think it could have just been Jelly Roll and Logan Paul, but it is what it is. It'll be a fun match at SummerSlam, I'm sure. But yeah, overall this match was fine. Kind of a nothing burger, but it's a burger that at least has some payoff at the end. So moving on, Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso for the United States title. Um, Pretty fun match. Jimmy and Solo have pretty good chemistry together. Jimmy was actually really good in this match. I felt like Solo too was a really Solo just has a fun time in there. So does Jimmy. But Solo works great as a heel, and he's a great heel wrestler. He knows what to do. He knows how to chirp. Jimmy still, is not a great singles wrestler, but much improved. He definitely did a lot of really good stuff. That flying, spinning, whatever you want to call it, tumbleweed off the top rope on the outside was pretty crazy by him. Um, but yeah, I thought the match was fine. Maybe a bit slow at times. That's just kind of how these two are. Especially Jimmy. I wasn't expecting a masterclass of a match. I wasn't expecting nothing too crazy. Jay didn't come out, but Solo picked up the win. I didn't think Jimmy was going to win regardless, but Solo picks up the win. They jump Jimmy, Solo, and Jacob Fatu comes out for the save, gets the save. No Jay, though, which, I kind of predicted, which didn't happen. I think it will happen in the future, though. But I think right now they're going to stick with Solo and Jimmy for a while against this new version of Bloodline. But Fatu is so good, so over. I don't see him lasting in this feud much longer. We'll see if he gets his title fight at SummerSlam. I think he will. I don't think they're going to go back to Jim. But I do think Jacob gets his title fight at SummerSlam where he'll win the belt back. But I think Solo had to win this first tower defense. you weren't going to drop it to Jimmy and you further the feud between him and Fatu and everybody else involved in that circle. So overall, I think it did what it needed to do. I think it was relatively entertaining. I thought it was a pretty good time. I wasn't expecting anything crazy, but they did what they needed to do. It moves the plot along to the next phase when we get to SummerSlam. So overall, solid again, C plus, B minus. Just it was a fine match. They both did what they needed to do. They both didn't do anything too crazy. Um, and overall, like it just furthers along what the storyline is between Fatu, Solo, Jimmy, and everybody else in that bloodline family. So overall, not bad. Excited to see where we go from here. Then we're gonna move to probably the saddest match of the night in terms of what ended up happening. LA Knight versus Seth Rollins. Obviously, the big story here is Seth getting hurt, injuring his knee. I don't think it's a work. I don't think it's anything. I think it is serious. I think everything involved with it. If it is a work, it's they got me because the way he landed and the way he reacted and the way that he reacted after the match as well. It just and the way that it finished, it did not feel natural or scripted or called. It felt like it was we got to get him out of here immediately. So I don't think it's a work. LA Knight picks up the win. Obviously the rumor was Seth was gonna win, but LA Knight picks up the win, and it's unfortunate, right? I mean, it was a really fun match. It was a really exciting match. Seth and LA were doing great work in the ring, and it's a double freak move where he does the springboard, lands on his feet, and you see right there he kind of tweaked it, and he tried to do a moonsault, and he landed again, and he just completely collapsed underneath him with his left knee. There's an MRI today. I haven't seen the results for that yet, or they haven't released it, which they don't have to. But it's not great. It's Monday, July 14th right now, so we'll see what happens on Raw. Probably gonna make an announcement there on a situation. But it's not good. It doesn't sound good. Triple H says it's not good. I don't think it's a work. If it's a work, they got me fair play, but I think this is a serious injury that Seth has, and it's unfortunate. It's really it sucks. His injury issues have continued every year, and he just came off a knee issue and a back issue. Now he's back on a knee issue. It's just it's not fun, and it's not great for. It's just the timing of it's really bad. It's the timing that's really bad because he was really getting over with this new group. But we'll see. Maybe he'll work more as like a figurehead and like he'll be more of like a pseudo manager for Braun and Bronson with anybody else joining the group. But we'll see how they pivot. We'll see how they pivot because rumors that they're probably going to move the briefcase off of Seth, which makes sense. I mean, if he's going to be out for a year, maybe more, you have to move the briefcase off of him. Um, you give it to Braun, maybe. You give it to somebody else. I know there's the Fatal Five Way tonight on Raw. Who's going to fight Gunther at SummerSlam? So look, I think it's a very complex situation. I think there's a lot of moving pieces that could happen. We don't really know what the plan is. We're probably going to find it out tonight, but this is sometimes the unfortunate reality in WWE is that the script changes constantly and you have to adapt and change on the fly. And so I know H loves his long-term storytelling, but there's going to be a scrap and you have to change it on the fly. So we'll see what the plan is going forward. I'm not going to give this match a grade because that's not fair to both men involved. And it's not fair to, you know, it wasn't what it was supposed to be, right? It wasn't the finish. It was planned. It wasn't anything it was supposed to be. So, unfortunately, you just gotta scrap it. And we'll see where we go from here. But it sucks that Seth got hurt at such a really, really great time for him. And Roman did not come out. Punk did not come out to interfere like the zeitgeist was kind of predicting. But zeitgeist is mostly wrong sometimes. But we'll see. We'll see if Roman comes back tonight. We'll see if that'll change some things. Maybe Punk will get more involved with Gunther going forward, or with Paul Heyman and his group. We'll see how that changes everything. Okay, I do think we were getting Seth and Punk at SummerSlam, but obviously that's got to change. So we'll see. We'll see where we go from here with the two of them. Um, we'll see if Roman ever decides to come back. Truthfully, we don't know. We haven't seen him. Was the last time we saw Roman? No, I'm done. I'm not going to predict it. But yeah, we'll see where we go from here with Seth and his group and LA Knight and Punk and everybody else. But the plan completely just got shifted, unfortunately. And then we'll move to the main event. Bill Goldberg versus Gunther in Goldberg's retirement match. Before I get to the negative, before I get to what I want to get to, Gunther wins 14-minute match um, to end the show. And I will say this: Goldberg wasn't bad here. I actually thought he was pretty fun. I think he sold really well for Gunther. I think you could clearly see he was really putting in a good effort. This being his retirement match, this being his last match for now. Wrestlers don't retire. Um, but this seemingly to be his last match in WWE for a while. Um, you could see he really put in a good effort. You could see he really worked hard and he was dedicated to this match and making it work. So that was really good to see. He did have really good moments and really good spots. He did look like he was 58. He did look like he hadn't been in the ring in a while. But I think overall, you kind of maybe a little bit you kind of got what you expected from Goldberg and more. Gunther was phenomenal. Did a really great job selling as well and putting Goldberg over in his last match. Um, the stuff with his son was pretty cool to see. And Goldberg's entrance is always iconic, regardless of who Goldberg is and what he does and where he's been. His entrances are always awesome. And seeing some of the WCW legends and his son walk him out, pretty fun, pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I think it's tough, right? Because this is for a retirement match. You kind of got to feel for Goldberg a little bit. You kind of got to feel for Bill because I don't think any retiring, WWE wrestler, superstar, wants their match to kind of be riddled with commercials and riddled with, you know, having to be on a certain time queue and a certain time spot. Obviously, if you were on Peacock or Netflix or wherever you were watching, you didn't have that issue. But for national TV and for NBC, you kind of feel for Bill. And most people probably were watching it on NBC or on national television at the time, and Bill got cut on time. He was in the middle of his farewell speech, which lasted 10 minutes, and unfortunately, it just cut him off halfway through his speech, which again is it sucks, and you feel a little bit for that because if he's serious about this being his last match, if he's serious about this being the final straw, it's not the way I think you want to go out. I think you would want to kind of have a clean 15-minute match and enough time to kind of say what you needed to say. And if the plan was that Bill had a 10-minute long speech prepared, then H should have planned accordingly. And H should have maybe either shortened the match or, he only had 4 matches on the card to begin with, so maybe shorten one of those 3 matches. And you let Bill kind of get the spotlight for a little bit. And look, I'm not a Bill Goldberg fan, and he has his problems, and he's not a great wrestler, and he doesn't produce really fun matches. I've never really been a big Goldberg fan, but I respect him for what he's done in the ring. I respect him for what he's brought to wrestling in general and what he did in WCW for so long, and putting the spotlight on that. And he is a legend. So I think you should treat your legend a little bit better than how he was treated in this situation. But I don't know. Like I feel like they checked off his box and they said, "All right, Bill, you're done." So to me, it is what it is. I'm sure Bill will have something to say about it. He always seems to do so. But for me, I think you have to treat your wrestlers a bit better than how Bill was treated in the situation. I think the match was fine. I think the match was fun. I think it did what it needed to do. It's not the best match of the night. That probably goes to Randy and Drew, in my opinion. Um, but it was like again solid C plus B minus did what needed to do. You move on. You got a retirement match out of the way. The speech is a speech, and just it's unfortunate what happened. But Gunther retains. He moves on to SummerSlam. He'll face the Fatal Five Way. Probably, I think there's going to be either Jay or Punk or Knight. I think he's probably going to win the Fatal Five Way tonight on Raw. So we'll see what happens there. But he'll fight at SummerSlam. It depends on who he fights. I don't know if he'll retain, but we'll see. But overall, Saturday Night Main Event was something. It was a card. It was a premium live event that people paid money for to go see. Uh, it's unfortunate. I mean the card itself wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't anything crazy that happened. There wasn't any surprises. Um, and yeah, I mean I give it a C plus. I think you didn't need this to happen. I think this was a clear counter to All In, a counter viewing to All In, and All In still did better. Um, Even Great American Bash, which I didn't cover, which was also really cool and really fun, did better matches and had better product. And Saturday Night Main Event was just kind of there. So we don't have one scheduled till December. So I will see if that remains true. But I think definitely need to cut some of these POEs because it what happened is what happened, and you're starting to get a really bad work schedule for these wrestlers. So hopefully this kind of reels them back from this amount of premium live events in a month. Uh, but what do I know?